Hello there, fellow detectives, and welcome. We're about to open up a brand new case file on one of the biggest mysteries out there. What does it actually mean to be alive? So go ahead and grab your magnifying glass because we're about to uncover the secret clues that separate the living from the non-living. All right, let's just jump right in with our very first piece of evidence. Take a look around. You might see a pigeon fluttering outside your window, and maybe there's a pencil sitting on your desk. I mean, it seems totally obvious, right? One is alive, and the other isn't. But why? What's the real, fundamental difference? That is the big question for our investigation today. Now, you might be thinking the first clue is movement. A pigeon moves, a pencil doesn't. Case closed? Not so fast. What about a car? A car moves, but we all know it isn't alive. It needs a driver, it needs fuel. So here's the thing. Movement all by itself isn't enough to solve this mystery. We've got to dig a little deeper. So, to really crack this case wide open, we need to know the secret code, the set of rules that all living things follow. You can think of this as our official detective's checklist. If something follows all 7 of these rules, we can say with confidence, yep, it's alive. And here they are, the 7 rules of life. To be considered alive, something has to do all of these things. It has to grow, need food, breathe, get rid of waste, react to things, reproduce, and move. It's a really strict checklist. For our investigation today, let's zoom in on a few of the most interesting rules and see exactly how they work. Okay, rule number 1, growth. This seems pretty simple, but it's such a powerful clue. All living things get bigger over time. You know, a tiny little seed becomes a giant tree, and a small puppy grows into a big dog. It's this change that happens from the inside out. And this just illustrates the difference perfectly. Think about it. You can't wear the clothes you wore when you were a baby, right? That's because you've grown. A car, on the other hand, is going to be the exact same size 10 years from now. It just doesn't grow. Let's move on to our next rule and see how this all builds up. Respiration. Now that's just a fancy scientific word for breathing. Every single living thing needs to take in air to create the energy it needs to live and move and grow. You and I breathe. A dog pants to breathe, but did you know that plants breathe too? It's true. They don't have lungs like we do, but they have these tiny little openings on their leaves called stomata, and they use these to pull in air from the environment. So really, from the biggest whale in the ocean to the smallest blade of grass, everything that's alive respires. Okay, this one is fascinating. All living things react. The scientific term for whatever causes that reaction is a stimulus. So, for example, if you touch a hot pan, you pull your hand away, like instantly. The heat is the stimulus, and pulling your hand back, that's the response. And it's not just animals. Check out this incredible plant, the touch-me-not. The moment you touch its leaves, they immediately fold up. The touch is the stimulus, and the folding leaves are its reaction. It's just a perfect, visible example of a plant responding to what's happening around it. So cool! And finally, for now, let's look at one of the most important rules of all, reproduction. Put simply, it's the ability to make more of your own kind. Birds lay eggs that hatch into chicks, and cats have kittens. It's how a species keeps on going. And this right here is a really clear line in the sand. A pencil just can't make baby pencils, a chair can't make little stools. This incredible ability to create a whole new generation belongs only to living things. All right, now that we have our detective's checklist, let's apply it to a few real-world cases. Our first case file is the plant. We're going to follow its amazing journey, a great escape from a tiny sleeping seed into a living, growing plant. So this brings us to a really tricky question. A seed, it doesn't really seem to be doing much, does it? It's not moving or breathing, so is it alive or is it non-living? What do you think? Well, the answer lies in its potential. This experiment gives us the clue we need. A seed is alive, but it's kind of in a sleeping state. To wake up, or what scientists call germinate, it needs the conditions to be just right. As you can see here, with no water, nothing. With way too much water, the seed can't get air. So, again, nothing. But with sunlight and just the right amount of water and air, that's when the great escape begins. And what an escape it is! From that one little seed, a tiny root and a shoot pop out. It grows into a seedling, then into a mature plant with flowers, and finally, those flowers turn into pods that hold brand new seeds, starting the entire cycle all over again. It checks all the boxes: growth, reproduction, you name it. Case closed, the plant is definitely alive.
Next up, we're going undercover to investigate a creature we all know, but whose early life is a total secret to most of us. Let's pull back the curtain on the secret life of the mosquito and its incredible 4-part transformation.
So this image right here shows the whole secret story. A mosquito doesn't just show up out of nowhere, it goes through 4 completely different stages: egg, larva, pupa, and finally, the adult. And the most surprising part? The first 3 stages all happen completely underwater. Let's zoom in on these secret stages. After it hatches, the egg becomes a larva, which honestly looks like a tiny worm wriggling around in the water. It has to keep coming up to the surface just to breathe. Then it changes into a pupa, which is kind of a resting stage. This is exactly why it's so important not to let water collect in old tires or buckets. It literally becomes a nursery for new mosquitoes. For our final case file, we've saved one of the most dramatic transformations in the entire animal kingdom: the frog's amazing metamorphosis. This isn't just about growing bigger. This is a complete reinvention of its entire body. Just look at this life cycle. A frog starts its life in the water, looking way more like a fish than a frog. It breathes through gills, it swims with a tail. But by the end of it all, it's an animal that can live on land, breathing with lungs and hopping around on powerful legs. It's an absolutely incredible change. This timeline breaks down that miraculous journey. It all starts as a cluster of jelly-like eggs called spawn. From there, a tadpole hatches and swims around with its tail. And then, the real magic starts. Over several weeks, it grows back legs, then front legs. It becomes a little froglet, and its tail starts to shrink away until finally, it's an adult frog with no tail at all, ready to live both in water and on land. So we've cracked the case. We know the 7 rules of life now, and we've seen them in action in both plants and animals. From beans to mosquitoes to frogs, the world is just filled with these incredible life stories. So the real question for you, my fellow detective, is what other secret lives are unfolding right in your own backyard? The investigation never really ends.